Hey, good day, everybody. David Devo here. I'm very excited tonight to be chatting to not only one of the best South African and African bands, but also who I'm privileged to call personal friends. Just thinking back to those days where you started, how did you guys, how did the band just start? Let's just, it's sometimes we have to just go a little bit back to the beginning. So if I could say, Phil, can you talk us a little bit through just in those beginning phases? Where did you guys start?
Well, yeah, we started all the way back in 2009. Myself and Daniel, we started jamming with a mutual friend, Rex. And then shortly afterwards, Daniel got an old bandmate from Malachi that he used to play with, Raymond, to play guitar. And yeah, that went on for a year or two or so. And then we decided to change direction and blend some industrial elements with our thrash and death sound. And at that time also got in Ralph Margo from Tyburn and Hugo Pelser from C4. And I think this is where we officially became Chaos Doctrine. But shortly after that, Ralph and Hugo left Johannesburg. Although Ralph did come back later on for another stint with Chaos Doctrine. Yeah, it was around about this time also we got in Alec through Daniel's close friend in Cape Town, Malcolm. And then when Raymond left, we decided to continue with one guitarist. And we had a few drummer changes and yeah, one or two gigs without a drummer, which sucked. But we finally got in contact with Jason from Jasper Dane, who really slotted in quite nicely. And this is where we are today.
How did the philosophy of a Chaos Doctrine influence you guys throughout your genre thus far and in your careers thus far? Daniel, can you elaborate a little bit for us on that a bit, Doctor?
Short answer, sounded cool. I think Phil and I were chuckling about this earlier. Coming up with a band name back then in 2010-ish is no mean feat, like there's 1,000 band names out there. We wanted to use Black Sabbath, that was taken, Slayer, that was taken, White Zombie, that was taken. And I joke, but it's almost that bad. But eventually when we got to the name, we kind of felt like just phonetically it sounds industrial and it sounds metal. And then when you really want to get nerdy about it, the words chaos and doctrine don't go together. They're paradoxical, which in the beginning maybe not so much, but as we progressed as a band musically, it really does describe how we work. Because all of us are complete control freaks. We're OCD as hell, and that's why our albums take 20 years to come out and not 6 months. Because we redo everything. But on the other hand, there's also very chaotic elements in our presentation, but also in the creative phase. I mean, in the creative phase, you just do whatever you want. And then eventually that gets beaten into a song, So I think over time, Chaos Doctrine for us became a little bit of it's bigger than a band. It's like a brand. It's a look. It's a color scheme. It's a presentation rather than just a band, a couple of guys jamming some tunes, and that's how we've always approached it. And that's why there's consistency in our themes, lyrically, visually, and sound-wise, even though we like to push those boundaries quite often.
From the beginning, the first album to the second album, and now the third album, Alec, can you give us sort of a bit of a insight into what has been sort of the juncture you guys are at now, the station you're at now? What fueled this kind of album number 3?
Well, this might sound like a really dumb statement to make, but I can't remember right now if we were a 4 or a 5-piece band back in when we released the previous album. But what I can say from the way we've evolved, from a personal perspective, I think a lot of what has happened is I think there's maybe a little bit more freedom. I think, at some point, I think there was a bit of this sort of claustrophobia that was going on. And maybe that was, like I said, maybe that's just the way I was feeling at the time. But I can definitely say the way I feel about how we've moved from, and in the beginning they lied, to what we're doing now with Bellum. There's a freedom in how we approach this, what we chose, how we came up with songs. what we did with the samples, what we did with lyrically, vocally. We put it all together, and we took time. And for me, it was definitely a way more free approach to writing music, putting this album out. Yes, okay, 2-3 years, whatever it took to get to this point. But certainly from my perspective, way freer than the previous two.
3 singles from the new album have been released over a period of almost 3 years, and each one of them wasn't just very well received, but received notable accolades. Like Martyr and One of My Bad Days made it into the Metal Hammer not only best songs of the week, but ultimately went up to make it for the best songs of the year. And I mean, then obviously there was Metal Injection that now premiered the One of My Bad Days music videos, and also back in the day, Lifting the Veil. So, those have been serious sort of stamps of approval from the industry as well as fans that to say you're on the right track. Let me put it back to you, Jason. If you had to compare some of the songs from the older songs to the ones that you're working on now, what would you say is sort of the crux difference about what people can expect at this point now from Bellum?
From a personal view, the songs there's still a lot of groove like the older songs used to have. There's still a hell of a lot of industrial, but it has gotten a bit faster, a bit heavier. In some of the songs, there's some gravity blasts when we feel like it, which hasn't really been done before. Also, the themes are, I wouldn't say more over the top as previous, but Daniel does have quite an imagination, and also just his love of history, and weird history at that. I think is also plays quite a huge part.
We've re-released these songs now because it has actually been so much time spent between them being released and now on the album, that this is another interesting phase and a new first. I think for a band to go back and almost like re-release the songs, remind the people about them, and then just kind of inject a little bit fresh energy in them. Why did you decide to do it otherwise on those 3?
Firstly, we're super proud of these songs. Alex spoke about freedom, and I think what he alluded to is the first 2 albums was written with band members, and we love those guys, and I still love those guys. But when suddenly it was just the 3 of us, and we're like, what are we going to do now? And we were like, well, whatever the fuck we want to, that's what we're going to do now. The more people you have in a band, the more people you have that have inputs and decision making and blah, blah, blah. And if one person doesn't like this, it doesn't like that. So anyway, just like some backstory. But firstly, we love these songs. We're really proud of the direction it sets us into. And secondly, we've really grown our fan base in the past while, including, that's why I keep looking weird, there's dogs everywhere. Lifting the Veil was released in May 2022. It is just when Jason joined the band. So we thought, what better way to introduce our new album than to take people through the whole journey of this album? Because when we released Lifting the Veil, we were still like, what's this album going to be like? We were still going, is this song going to make it onto the album? And now, 18 months later, with a picture that we've put down, we're still like I said, still super proud of those songs, super happy they're on the album. And we wanted to take people through that entire journey and take them up to Heretic, sort of like the little journey we've been taking in our writing and building of the album.
These songs, are they the exact same songs that was released that's now on the album, or have you guys kind of round robin back to them a little bit again?
I would have to say there is a bit of a difference, maybe even if it's just a couple of percentage points difference. I think with the way that or the process of learning, and the learning that's come from a year or so in between, sort of when we release these singles, to remixing, checking things on the mixes, maybe finding new solutions to problems that we were facing back then. I'd say there is probably a bit of a difference. Whether the, let's call him the regular Joe out there, is going to really pick it up, That I can't say. I mean, but I can say from a sort of from my side and from and certainly from the band, yeah, there is a difference. I mean, we did put more work into them, cleaned up the tracks a bit, found new ways to do old things and put it out there. I mean, yeah. So they do sound different.
I want to round Robin back, and I want to really speak to you, Phil. You know, so as the band's visualizer, you know, what have you got to offer in terms of the sort of the contribution that you've made in terms of the look and feel of this album 3?
Definitely from the start, we wanted to keep a certain theme and colors going with each album. You know, sort of kind of like Type O Negative used their creepy green light in a way, sort of like that. And I think we definitely did do that. We like to use the pale grays and the unsaturated purples and blues, and so that's something that I think that we'll keep on going with. I think we seem to keep using a lot of mythological and/or religious figures in modern settings that have been mechanized or industrialized in some way or another. I'm not sure what that means, but for me, I think this might say something about how old beliefs can hold you back from moving forward.
And that's also a great segue into the question around the video for One of My Bad Days. You know, that is also a very strong visual, very red. You know, what was sort of the, I would say, sort of the sub-narrative to that whole visualizing of that song?
Yeah, visuals have always been a very important part of this band. From our stage background videos, the mic stand, the album art, it's definitely something we try to work on as much as possible to accompany the music. It was quite fun shooting the video for One of My Bad Days. The previous professional video shoot was for Father Gregorian. That was mostly us just jamming. But with One of My Bad Days, we just decided to insert some more themed elements, and we got to do some role playing and some shitty acting. And we wanted to convey the theme of the song in quite a literal way, with this psychopath killer having no remorse. Yeah, and I think the red, it's basic. It symbolizes violence, and I think Daniel put all the concepts together to fit his lyrics for the song. So I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Daniel.
And I think what's nice, Pierre shot the video for us, Pierre Smith, who did Father Gregory, but Phil edited it. So if you watch the two videos, you can see a similarity in the eye that filmed it, but you can also see a very big sort of divergence in the eye that edited it. And I think if you know us, you'll see that difference. I think Phil did a sterling job painting my lyrics in that story. It came out really well. All of us were like, holy shit, this is amazing. You know, so we hope people dig it.
Another thing that was quite interesting that you guys decided to do is almost to double up on one of the singles. And I'm going to talk about Marta now. Tell me a little bit more about why you guys decided to do two versions of the same song at the same time.
We've always loved collabs, and we've vocal collabs mostly. I don't know what the band's trying to tell me. We've always loved collabs, and we've always liked doing alt versions of stuff. And when Alec wrote Marta, sort of at that time, we saw this band Capgras Delusion live, and their vocalist Laura just has this, like, she goes from man vocals, and I mean that like fucking old school 90s Florida death metal, to this like angel choir in the scope of no time. And Alec and I were like, holy shit, dude, we need to get this lady friend of ours to come sing on our song. And Marta just, I was like, guys, we need to get Laura on. And like I said, we love collabs, we love alt versions. After our album at some point next year, we'll have an EP with loads of both. And yeah, we thought, why wait? Just show people both at the same time, you know? Give them a choice, see what they think. And I think, like you said, Dave, the only thing that's different on those two songs are the vocals. Even my vocal volume is exactly the same on both tracks. But when you listen to it, it almost sounds like two different songs, which is just fantastic. I think Laura did an awesome job. Alec did an awesome job in pushing the Chaos Doctrine boundary like way out, because it doesn't sound like us yet. It sounds exactly like us. And it was just something we never did. So we thought, well, let's keep going with this something we never did thing, you know. The previous female collab we had was with Anna Hell in Russia, and her vocals are just brutal. So we were like, well, what if we do proper girly vocals this time? Let's see what happens. And thought it came out really cool. The one without Laura will be on the album. The one with Laura will come on an EP, like I said, at some point.
Now you're getting ready to take this beast live. As the drummer of the band, how are you getting ready? I'm sure you're spending a lot of time in gym to be able to go and take this live.
You took the words right out of my mouth, Dave. I actually have had to. I mean, we rehearse once a week on a Saturday, and it's summer sort of on its way into autumn, but it's still hot. So there's a lot of sweat and tears involved. No, but it's always great fun, and that's why we do it. We love it. If it wasn't fun, we wouldn't put so much effort into it. So it takes a lot of practice. I mean, we've all been doing this for a long time, and it's all just about passion. And live, especially, I mean, the adrenaline kicks in, and you forget about fatigue and tiredness and all of that crap. You just go for it.
Tributes, the choices of this medleys that you've made, how did that got to be?
Well, I'll start with the Pink Floyd. Look, I don't. I think I chose the Depeche Mode. I could be wrong, and I'm certainly very much a fan of Pink Floyd. I think Daniel and I, maybe the other guys also as much, but maybe not as vocal about it as Daniel and I in terms of being Pink Floyd fans. Would I say that Pink Floyd influences our music? Maybe not in itself as it is now, but that doesn't mean that it's not going to change in future, but it's certainly, when you've got such an iconic band like Pink Floyd, just try and do it a little bit of justice. And I'm hoping that we even got like close, just a little bit in doing that. I don't know what the other guys would like to chirp in there.
I think I'll add on the Floyd before I hand over to Jay and Phil on the Sabbath piece. Floyd, I snuck in. I was like, hey, Alec, listen to this. Guess what? I did this December, and we did it. I agree with Alec. I don't think Pink Floyd influences our music, not the way we write songs, but I think, in my mind at least, it influences how I think about music. Pink Floyd has always just done way out crazy shit forever. From their most poppy song to their most complex Syd Barrett weird shit, they've always just gone, well, we're going to do this because we can. And that, to me, has always been the Chaos Doctrine philosophy. If we want to do a song with girl vocals, we're gonna. And if we want to do a fucking Depeche Mode cover followed by a Midnight Oil cover, we're going to be unapologetic about it. And we love it. Our only criterion for what we do is we must all like it. All four of us must like it. Otherwise, it doesn't proceed, So, yeah. Jay, Sabbath. Have you heard of Black Sabbath? Do you like them?
Well, Sabbath are arguably the first metal band ever. And they influenced pretty much every single band that influenced us. That says something about Sabbath. And I mean, I think with both the Pink Floyd and the Black Sabbath medleys, they're medleys, but they're tributes as well. Because they've had such a great influence on us. I think we decided to do this. And I'm looking forward to actually releasing those. Especially the Sabbath, and playing it live even. It's a little bit of a challenge remembering all the little changes and stuff, but it's great stuff.
Guys, this now leads us into your next single, The Mighty Heretic, arguably the heaviest song you've done. Alec, Phil, if you had to say, what was the creative process behind this whole Heretic and what it represents?
From my side, I think it was one of those approaches to, let's write something sort of Swedish metal. And it probably doesn't sound anything like Swedish metal, but it was sort of that, I want to write something fast and entombed like, maybe, just fast and heavy. But at the same time, if you've heard the track, there's this sort of midsection that just goes so like slow chord heavy. So it needed sort of that juxtaposition of the two elements in order to make it one complete song, because otherwise it would just, I mean, there a dime a dozen thrash or fast, just fast bands out there. This needed something else, and I think when we wrote it, those were the elements that sort of had to come into play, and how we structured it. I think it worked out very well. The juxtaposition of those, the fast and the slow, heavy, and then coming back to the fast, to end it off with. Phil, don't know what you got.
Yeah, not really much to add from my side. Alec came up with all the riffs on the song, and then it went into the usual Chaos Doctrine process of structure building and adding industrial elements and other instruments and vocals. It is really fun to play, and I hope you guys like it.
Let's look at the rest of the album of Bellum. The concepts, the songs, and a little bit of the other tracks on that album.
I'm going to give this to you short. So we've spoken about 4 songs, 5 songs left. 2 disturbing epics, 2 industrial as fuck sort of thrashes, and 1 mid-tempo melodic thing with sitar that speaks to the album cover. The album cover for Bellum has Shiva on it. There's a song called Destroyer, and if you listen to that, I think you will see Phil's artwork, because that song is really what the album cover is about. But I think the theme, the word Bellum means war, and all the songs approach it from different lenses. I can go on about this for hours, but I'm not going to. I think every song just links in, and I think the way we put the album together sequentially tells you that story. So go listen to it and come back with notes.
Guys, thank you very much, and thanks for the time. Let's rock and roll.
Pleasure as always, Dave. Thanks, guys.